Guess who's back, 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 back again, again, again. A fitness hun's back, back, back. Tell a friend, friend, friend. Hi YouTube. Yeah, I vanished after that last video, and the reason is I've realised my life is often quite boring most of the time, and there actually really isn't very much to film. Like, I just sit at a desk at home most of the day. I get up at 6 to take the dog out, and if I'm not up at 6, Alex is up at 6 and I'm still sleeping, and then I sit at a desk and then I'll do a workout, and then that's kind of it. So I've not really filmed anything, but here I am, and I've actually made a little presentation for this video. So I'm going to talk about the Berlin Marathon training plan, because filming this right now, I am 2 days into week 2 of 15 for Berlin Marathon. So that means I now have less than 15 weeks to go, which is so scary. When I made that last video, I actually can't even remember when it was, like February or something. It felt like I had a million years to go until Berlin Marathon. It felt like I had so long to think about it, so long to prep for it, and now the countdown's on. So yeah, I'm making a video about it. So yeah, last week was week 1. I ran just short of 27 kilometers. My long run was 18 kilometers, and then I did another run, which was, what was that run? Oh, it was a tempo run. I was meant to do 3 runs. I was meant to do a track run as well, but we have a heat wave in the UK right now, and I just didn't plan for it. That was just my own bad time management, and it's really the fact I missed a run on week 1 has made me be like, oh, okay, summer training is different. I can't go out at 11 a.m. on a Sunday anymore. I have to go out at like 6 a.m. to beat the heat. So it was a real good eye-opener. I'm still really pleased that I finished on 27 kilometers as well. I think that's a really good effort for the first week. Over the last few months, I've been building a really good base. So I've been running an average of like 25 to 28K a week. There were about 5 weeks in there where I ran less than that, and that's because I had sinusitis twice in a row. Basically, whenever I get a cold, it always turns into sinusitis, and it's really annoying, and it stops me from running because obviously it's just all in my head, and I get really, really bad headaches with sinusitis, like right in my sinus, and running makes it worse. I don't know what it is. I don't know whether it's just like the intensity of the breathing or what, but yeah, I had a few weeks off, not off running completely, just lower kilometers than I would have hoped for. And I was meant to be running a 10K tomorrow, tomorrow being Wednesday, but that 10K has actually been cancelled. So I was going to go for a sub 50, which would have been a PB by over 4 minutes. My last 10K was, I think it was December or January, I can't remember which, and I got like 54:48 or something like that, 54:41, 54 something for sure. I went for sub 55 and got it. So I was going to run tomorrow for a sub 50, but yeah, run through cancelled the race because of the heat wave. And when I looked, so tomorrow's going to be 37 degrees and it's still meant to be like 36 degrees at like 7 p.m. So I think it's actually a really good thing that they cancelled it, because I think people would have got ill. Even running at 26 degrees is really tough, let alone 36. And it was in Battersea Park. Battersea Park isn't the most shaded ever. There's like shaded bits of it, but yeah, I wouldn't have been able to get the sub 50. I know that I wouldn't. I would have still done my best, but I think, yeah, I want to race when the conditions are a bit better, when it's an actual test of my fitness. But I like to think that right now I am in sub 50 10K condition, or at least near enough, maybe like 50 minutes, 30 seconds, 51 minutes, which is a really good place to start marathon training. And on that, apologies if you can see all the grubby fingerprints all over my screen. All right, here we go. So I've made a little presentation, mostly to keep myself on track and so I don't ramble. And this is about my Berlin Marathon 2026 training, which the race is in less than 15 weeks. So here we go. Slide one, why Berlin? So I chose to run Berlin Marathon because it is a lifelong goal of mine to get all of the world majors, or to run all of the world majors and get all of the stars. I think we're on to 8 now. I think the 6-star medal still exists, but there's 8 world major marathons. And the reason why Berlin is because that's the only one I can afford right now. So I've already run London Marathon. I ran that in 2024. And all of the other world majors are in different continents. 3 of them are in America, 1 of them's in Japan, 1 of them's in Australia, 1 of them's in South Africa, and I simply cannot afford to do those races and probably will not be able to for quite some time. So Berlin it is. And Berlin, I've never been, I've always wanted to go there, and it's a really fast, flat course. So I'm really hoping it'll be a good, genuine test of where my fitness is at too. Why another marathon? So I've run I've run 2 marathons and I am training for my 3rd marathon. And after my last marathon, which was Manchester in 2025, I had a really bad time on that race. I set myself a goal of sub 4:30, so running it in less than 4 hours, 30 minutes. And I missed that goal by over 30 minutes. Yeah, I ended up with 5:05:59. So I missed it by about 36 minutes, which is obviously a huge miss. That's not like a couple of minutes off target. That is 36 minutes off target, if my maths is right there. I think it is. Yeah, 36 minutes. So after Manchester Marathon, I swore I wouldn't run another one, and I took what will end up being a 1.5 year break. But earlier this year, my best friend's dad passed away. This is him, he's Jim, and Jim had a long battle with MS, which is multiple sclerosis. And the whole time I knew Jim, and me and Tom, this is me and Tom, this is our first ever picture together, and this is one of our most recent ones together. We've been best friends for over 15 years now, so when Jim died, it was a real shock because I grew up with Tom's family, Tom grew up with my family. And what I didn't know about Jim until after he'd passed is that he ran marathons and he was super into fitness. I only knew Jim later in his life when he was struggling with MS. So I never saw the version of him that ran marathons, and I'm obsessed with this picture. You can just see how strong he is. So I am running in memory of Jim, who is so inspiring in that he never lost his sense of humour. No matter how tough his MS got, he was always so funny and always one of those people with like such a twinkle in his eye, you know, like a real cheeky guy. And yeah, his passing was a big shock and not expected at all. And at the funeral, on the back of I can't remember what it's, you know, like the kind of the leaflet you get at church at mass, on the back, Tom's family, the Shields family, they had asked for donations to the MS Society rather than flowers, rather than cards, than gifts. They wanted the donations to go to the MS Society. So I felt really inspired to do something big in memory of Jim. And I contacted the MS Society and said, I've run a couple of marathons before. I wondered if you had any places for Berlin Marathon. That's kind of the next world major coming up. It's kind of the only one I can afford right now, etc. I'd love to run it in memory of Jim. And another reason I'm running for the MS Society is that my mum also has MS. So it was a real kind of bonding point for, is that the right thing to say? I mean, it was like a real bonding experience for Tom and I, who both discovered that we both had a parent with MS, and multiple sclerosis affects the brain and the spinal cord, which means it looks so different in everyone. There is not one kind of set of symptoms that people get. It is such a complicated disease because it affects the nerves and how the brain sends messages through the spine kind of to the rest of the body. So in Jim's case, in later life, it affected his mobility and his speech. And I know that my mum's voice has been affected by it, amongst a whole lot of other things. And it was just a real thing that Tom and I bonded over. And when a parent with MS relapses, it's really scary because you don't know what version of themselves they're going to be on the other side of that relapse. You know, relapses with each one can really deteriorate a person with MS. So we really kind of held each other through those scary times. And so, yeah, I wanted to run in memory of Jim. and for my mum and for our families who have actually experienced firsthand how amazing the MS Society is. So Tom and I, over 10 years ago, actually put on a concert because so Tom trained in musical theatre, I trained in acting, but my background is in musical theatre. We put on a concert at the Rochdale MS Society for all the people with MS, for the families, etc., as like a fundraiser. So it's really amazing that I'm fundraising again for the MS Society over 10 years later. The timeline, so this is week 2 of 15 for training. So I started training last week. As I've said, I ran 27 kilometers. I did 1 strength session and 3 spin classes. So that is my starting volume. I'm sure you can only imagine how much more I'm going to end up doing towards the race. So this week I'm going for 35 kilometers total. And I'll keep building from there with a few deload weeks in there. So deload weeks is basically where you reduce your kilometers. Just because if you keep increasing them each week, you're really increasing your risk of injury. And those deload weeks allow the body to repair and recover and help reduce risk of injury. So I'll have 15 weeks with my long runs ranging from 18 kilometers and my longest will be 35 kilometers. So that's around 7 kilometers short of a marathon distance. And the race itself is Sunday, the 27th of September, 2026. And I've written, because that is how I feel about it. So my training plan, my weekly kilometers will probably range from about 30 to 60 kilometers. My longest run, as I said, will be 35 kilometers. I'm going to be running 4 times per week. And I've already built a base of around 25 to 30 kilometers per week with lots of speed work in there. So that's because I was training for that sub 50 10K, which I'm now not going to get to race. But does mean that I'm starting this training feeling the fittest and fastest I've ever felt already. I feel fitter now than I did just before, Manchester Marathon last year, which I think says a lot, that I'm feeling fitter on week 2 than I was on week 14 of training for Manchester Marathon. So other workouts, as well as 4 runs a week, I will do 1 strength session a week, which will focus on plyometrics. Plyometrics are a lot of jumping, basically, and that is to build power and to build resilience. So running is basically a lot of single leg jumping. You're hopping from leg to leg to leg. So I'm going to be training those jumps just to make sure I'm injury resistant. And it also helps keep the tendons nice and springy and strong and kind of stiff. And I'll also be cycling 3 times a week because I teach spin classes. And when you teach spin classes, you cannot do that off the bike. You could do it off the bike, but I don't feel right doing that off the bike. I went to a spin class once where the instructor was off the bike the whole time and I hated every second of it because hang on, sorry, I got dog hair in my eye. Classic. I hated every second of it because I was looking at this instructor thinking, you're telling us to do all of this, but you don't even know if this resistance is right. You don't know how hard this is. You're not even doing it. This person was literally just leaning on the bike like that. So I don't want to be that instructor. Sometimes I'll knock my resistance down a little bit because it's not my workout, it's theirs, but I'm still cycling 3 times a week, which is a total of 2 hours and 15 minutes per week cycling. And then my running hours will end up going up to, I don't know, like 6-7 hours a week running, maybe. I don't actually know how many hours. So I'm doing a lot of training. A lot of my time is being dedicated to training. And this is so that I can have a really strong marathon. Even if it's not the fastest ever, even if it's not a PB, which is a personal best, I'd want to just feel strong so that I enjoy it. Because when you don't feel strong, as I learned in Manchester Marathon, I wasn't fit enough. I can kind of honestly, truthfully reflect on that now, that I was not fit enough to run Manchester Marathon because I started to bail on my long runs towards the end of training. And I hated it because it was so hard. Whereas London Marathon, my first marathon in 2024, even though my body was not ready, I had so many injuries because I went from 0 to marathon, which I do not recommend, by the way. As you know, as much as I did it and I managed it, I don't recommend it. I did so much cross training on bikes, on the elliptical, on the rowing machine that I really built my fitness to such a good place that London Marathon was so euphoric because I could do it. I was slow. I kind of jogged my whole way. I couldn't push myself, but I could keep a smile on my face the whole time because I built that fitness. But Manchester Marathon, I did not feel like that. Manchester Marathon, I felt so weak. And there were other factors at play for sure. It was much hotter than I anticipated it being that day. I trained throughout winter, so I hadn't had any heat training, but I think I definitely could have been fitter on that start line, and I could have had a better race if I'd have put the time in. So yeah, that's that. My recovery is going to look like as much sleep as possible. Marathon training is exhausting. If you imagine I'm doing 2 hours 15 of cycling, a strength session, and then 4 runs a week. On top of that, I'm probably easily hitting 10,000 steps a day just mooching around and taking the dog out. It's a lot. And I have to work and show up for friends and family, and it's exhausting. So sleep is going to be a real priority of mine. And nearer to the race, probably my birthday is the 13th of August, so probably after my birthday, I'm going to eliminate alcohol completely. I didn't drink at all for London Marathon training, and it meant that I could show up to every session because I never had a hangover. I can show up to a session tired, but I just can't do it hungover. I feel like I'm finally at that age where hangovers are really getting to me. So during Manchester Marathon training, I did drink, and that was definitely a big contributor, I don't know, towards me missing those final long runs, that I was hungover and I'd go out and I just wouldn't want to do it, and I'd feel so sluggish and I'd give up. So I will be cutting out alcohol. You don't have to, but I just know when I compare those 2 marathons and when I know how alcohol affects me for the next 24 hours, it's not worth it for me in marathon training. And stretching. I never stretch. I literally never stretch. I'm allergic to stretching. I find it so boring because it's slow and it's static. But during Manchester Marathon training last year, I had a sports massage, and the masseuse, they came here. It was great that she set up a bed in this room, and it meant that I didn't have to leave. It meant that after the massage, I could just kind of sit on the sofa and relax. I don't think that would exist now. I have a dog, quite a needy little dog who'll be like, oh, give me attention. It's not relaxing, but the masseuse started on my legs, and she was literally like, oh my God. And I was like, what? And she was like, have you ever stretched? And I was like, not really. And she was like, you need to stretch. Your muscles are rock solid, and like not in a good way, not in a strong way, in like a, they are holding so much tension way. So yeah, I mean, last week was week 1. Did I stretch? No. But I will, I'm sure I will, especially now I've put it out onto the internet, and you, if anyone has got this far into the video, if anyone even watches this, hopefully you can help hold me accountable. And then finally, nutrition. Lots of carbohydrates is the long and short of it. But I've written not from entire packets of biscuits every day this time. So when I ran London and Manchester Marathon, because I was exercising a lot, I think in my head, I was like, great, I'm burning so many calories. I can eat whatever the hell I want, and it's not going to make a difference. It does make a difference. I'm not exaggerating when I say I would easily eat an entire packet of biscuits per day. That is like 7 packets of biscuits per week. And then on top of that, I'd be eating cakes, more biscuits, chocolates, And those foods are totally fine, and I will absolutely still be eating biscuits during marathon training. But I think I've realized now that marathon training isn't a free pass to just eat whatever the hell I want, whenever the hell I want, because actually that just caused a lot of weight gain, and it just made me feel really sluggish and really tired and really unhealthy because I was eating, frankly, shit all the time. So now I've definitely learned for this block that needs to be much more balanced, that I can't come home after a long run, eat an entire pack of biscuits and say that's my lunch. Like, I cannot do that anymore. I can still absolutely have some biscuits, but with a lunch that has carbohydrates from like rice or potatoes or pasta on there, with protein to help my muscles recover after sessions, with fat to keep my hormones on track. There's so much more to it. I think I just realized that this time I need my nutrition to be much more balanced, and that it will actually make me feel like a much stronger, much fitter, and hopefully much more energized runner. I've been really trying to dial in on my nutrition over the last few months or so as I've been building up this marathon training, and I've still absolutely had all the treats, but I can really feel a difference actually. Just having some fruit and veg in my diet has just made me feel so much healthier. So yeah, there'll definitely be a lot more balance. And yeah, there I've written protein to help recovery between sessions. So I'll definitely be thinking about having some protein in every meal. A rule of thumb that I follow is that I try and get 25 grams of protein in my 3 meals a day. So I'm easily hitting 75 grams of protein a day. And then I'll usually always, at some point for a snack or like a dessert, have a bowl of Greek yogurt with some honey and some berries, which usually tops it up to like around 100 grams of protein, which is great. And then the rest will come from carbs and fats. My goals. So I've written down 5 goals here. I'd say that 2 to 5 aren't necessarily in any particular order, but my number 1 goal is to have a great time, which links back to what I was saying, that I really want to train hard for this marathon because I want to get to that start line just feeling really fit and really capable. And that feeling will just help me have a good time. Even if I go out at my goal pace and I can't hold it, I will still be able to have a smile on my face because I won't hit the wall. So I just want to have a good time. It's a world major marathon in a city I've never been to. I want to just look around. I want to look at the crowds. Alex, my boyfriend, is coming. Tom, my best friend, and his partner Tyler are coming. 2 of my other friends are coming, Ellie in India, maybe a couple more. So I'm actually going to have a really good support network, which is incredible because I wouldn't expect anyone to come to a marathon abroad. London Marathon, sure, because most of my friends live in this city, but I am, very lucky to have those people. And I want to see them and stop and hug them and talk to them and not just run past them and wave. So that is goal number 1, to have a great time. Goal number 2, to get a good time. So Manchester Marathon, as I said, I aimed for 4 hours, 30 minutes, missed it by 36 minutes. So my goal number 1, now I don't know if this is achievable. This might be wildly out of reach, but it's a goal and I can train towards it. And halfway through training, I can always change that goal, right? Like none of these are necessarily set in stone. So I would love to knock an hour off my last marathon of that 5:05:59, which would mean finishing the Berlin Marathon in 4 hours, 5 minutes and 59 seconds. The average pace of that is 5 something per kilometer. And I think I could hold that for a half marathon, but I just don't know whether I could hold that for a marathon. So that's why I'm unsure as to whether that is a realistic goal. I like to set goals that push me, but I don't like to set goals that I cannot achieve because then that's just demotivating. And like with the 4:30 for Manchester Marathon, in hindsight, that goal was too challenging for where my fitness was at that time. So that's a goal to be decided with my coach, Paige, and just see how I do in some of those runs. That's what the 50-minute 10K tomorrow that I was meant to run was meant to be a real test of where that fitness is at. But obviously, I can't race that anymore because of the weather. My B goal is to avenge my last marathon goal, which I missed considerably, and get a sub 4:30. I would still be thrilled with that. That would be knocking off 36 minutes from my last marathon time, which would be incredible. So that is still a goal I'm very much considering. That's a pace of about 6:10 per kilometer, which I can definitely hold. My easy pace now is 6:30 per kilometer. So if that's my easy pace, where my heart rate is in a zone where I can have a conversation like this, I might have to kind of take a breath occasionally like that, but I can still have a conversation, which last year, my easy pace was like 7:30. So yeah, we'll see. And then my C goal is just to get a PB. So even if that is 5:05:58, which hopefully I won't be that slow this time round, but unless something goes wrong and I have to walk a big chunk of it, that is my C goal. So I would be thrilled with any of those. But ultimately, even if I miss all of those, as long as I have a good time, that's what matters to me. Goal number 3, train hard and well and don't give up when it gets tough, especially on long runs. So as I kind of mentioned a little bit earlier, my Manchester Marathon training, I did give up towards the end. And it's taken me a long time to admit that. I feel like my pride was really in the way and I was just blaming it on the heat of the day, which the heat of the day definitely did contribute to that slower time, but it wasn't the only reason. I'm just gonna pause to have a drink of tea. Oh, no, my tea's cold. Oh, that's upsetting. I'm sat in front of a fan, like a cooling fan, and my cup of tea is in front of the cooling fan. I didn't think about that. I've been filming for like 19 minutes now. anyway, as I was saying, I can really reflect and know that I gave up. So while I was Manchester Marathon training, about halfway through, so maybe about 8 weeks in, I think it was the February, and the race was in, no, it was March. I ran it, wait, let me think of this timeline. Yes, I ran it in March. So in the March, I ran a half marathon and crushed a PB. I got 2 hours, 8 minutes and 38 seconds. So I took that half marathon PB and was like, great, if I can run a half marathon in 2 hours, 8 minutes, 38 seconds, I can definitely run a full marathon in 4 hours, 30 minutes. And the problem was, because I got that reassurance and that kind of false sense of security quite early in the training, it meant that I just coasted the rest of it. I didn't complete any of my other long runs. There was a 26K that I just kind of walked. I think it was a 28K that I gave up on around like 14K in. I can't remember. I might be a little bit wrong with the numbers there. I can't remember exactly, but something like that. And I didn't do any of the long runs other than that. I think I might have hit the half marathon distance again, but I didn't push myself. And that's what I've really learned for this training block, is not to peak too soon, not to get a false sense of security from any PBs I attain along the way, and to not give up towards the end, even though I'm going to be so tired, even though I'm probably going to be sick of marathon training, because it's so time consuming. And especially in summer, where I just want to be like drinking in a park or just being in a beer garden, and I'm having to say no to things because I've got a long run to do. I do really want to commit to this block because I really want to have a good marathon, especially with the reason why I'm running. I just want to run strong and run hard and just make everyone proud, you know? Goal 4, I would love to get a sub 2 hour half marathon and a sub 50 minute 10K along the way. Obviously, tomorrow was meant to be the sub 50. I would love to get that at some point, but I also don't mind if that is a post-marathon task. But I definitely do want to get a sub 2 hour half marathon. I'm actually running a half marathon next week on the 4th of July, which is also the day of London Pride, which I didn't realise when I booked that, but I'm still doing the half marathon. I was considering cancelling it to go to Pride, then I was like, no, this is what I'm talking about. Even if I go out in the evening after Pride, I'm just going to have to miss the parade, which is sad. But I'm going to go for sub 2 hours, and I'm just going to see if I can do it. I think I can. I was even considering going for like a 155 or a 150, but again, I just think those might be a bit too ambitious. I think I'm just going to kind of see how I feel on the day. Go for sub 2 hours, and if I hit that halfway point around 10K and I'm feeling really strong, I can always speed up. So yeah, that's goal number 4. And goal number 5, remember what I'm running for every step of the way. I'm running for those who can't, and for my younger self who did not believe in herself. So obviously the reason for this marathon in particular is for Jim and for my mum and for the MS Society. But the reason for my kind of a wider, longer running journey is because my younger self did not believe in herself. Sorry, there's some flies. I don't know if you can see them. My younger self as a child and as a teenager and even as a young adult did not believe in herself, did not believe that I could ever be a fitness person. And even like recently, over the last year or so, I've done a lot of reflecting even about my acting career. And I've realised that I have really held myself back. When I've been in for roles and stuff, I've really had this voice in my head saying, yeah, but you're not going to get it. Yeah, but you're not good enough for that. Yeah, but you're not, that's not for you, that's for someone else. And I've had limits on what I can achieve. So even if I've tried to get an audition for a show, in my head I've been like, oh, I'll just hopefully get an audition for the understudy. And I've never really put myself on that playing field where I can play leads and I can carry a show in a big venue, or I can have a TV lead. And yeah, all those things are linked, and I really believe in myself so much more now than I ever have, and I want to just keep that up and just keep doing it for my younger self. And then finally, I've got my rough plan of my long runs, which my coach Paige sent me. So week 1, 18 kilometers, done. Week 2, 16 kilometers, not done yet. Week 3, half marathon. Week 4, deload, I'll run 15 kilometers. Week 5, 22 kilometers. Week 6, 26 kilometers. 7, 28. 8, 18 kilometer deload. Week 9, 30 kilometers. Week 10, 22.5. Week 11, 32. Week 13, 26. Week 14, which is peak week, I'll be doing my longest run of 35 kilometers. And then, wait, I've got this wrong. Have I? No, I've not. Sorry, I've not got it wrong. Week 14, 20 kilometers. Week 15, marathon. So that's just the long run. That's not even the total weekly kilometerage. I was going to say mileage, but I'm working in kilometers here, so weekly kilometerage. I imagine in this peak week, when my long run is 35 kilometers, I'm probably going to be hitting 60 overall, which is kind of crazy. I've never run that far in a week before. The furthest I've ever run in a week has been about 47 kilometers, and that's been the weeks that I have run marathons. So yeah, that's it. And I kind of wanted to show that just to give everyone an idea, especially if you're watching this and you're not a runner or you don't know what goes into marathons, just to kind of show people how much work is being put into this. And I think, so for context around when I was talking about Manchester Marathon, that half marathon, I think that was around week 8, 9, 10-ish. I don't know. I wish I'd worked that out before I filmed this. And then if you can see here, I've got like the 30 kilometers, the 32, the 35 to go. I missed all of those runs last time. So I missed a real bulk of kilometers. And I'm really determined to stick at it and to do a great job. That's the end of the presentation. I don't think I have anything more to say. I just thought it would be interesting, hopefully, maybe, to run through my plan, run through my goals, run through my why as well. I don't just run for the sake of it. I do run for charities. I run for my own mental health and physical health. And yeah, I mean, obviously, if you've got this far, if you would like to donate to my fundraiser, to the MS Society, that would be so appreciated. I cannot tell you how incredible that charity are, and that I've experienced them firsthand as well. It's not just, I think sometimes, you know, you run for a charity and you don't really have any connection to it. I really do have a connection to it. So I really do want to hit my target of £1,500. I think I've already got about £250 donated, which is amazing. So yeah, I really want to get to that 1,500, if not more. So that's everything. I'm not going to ghost YouTube again. I think life will probably get a little bit more interesting with all the runs to come. Yeah, I hope you enjoyed. In the true YouTube way, I'm going to put my sunglasses on for this. Please like and subscribe. I really enjoy making long form content. It's a lot of work, a lot of editing, and it just takes a lot of time. Like Instagram Reels and TikTok. I mean, TikToks take like 2 seconds because I just put whatever up there. Instagram Reels take like maybe a couple of hours depending on what it is, but YouTube takes a long time, but I really like it, and I hope that you enjoy maybe getting to know me a bit more and yeah, just learning about what marathon training is actually like and the sacrifices that go into it. I think a lot of social media looks very flowery and fun, and there's lots of like amazing, cute outfits, which, you know, I would love those outfits, but it just makes it look very glamorized, and actually it's a lot of work. And I think a lot of the people that post on social media don't necessarily have other jobs, and I do have a lot of other jobs and a lot of other work. So I'm really juggling all of this whilst trying to show up as the best partner, dog mum, friend, sister, daughter, etc. that I can. So yeah, that's all. I'm going to shut up now, stop filming. But I hope you enjoyed, and obviously feel free to comment anything as well. I'd love to chat to people in the comments. Goodbye!